Hey everybody, this is Rodney in Park, and he's the Vice President of Demand Local. And I've asked him here today because we got a thread going with about 19 or 20 replies on it the other day when I mentioned using geofencing to get people more customers. And Park is the one to talk to. He's been doing this, I believe, for what, 12 years?
hmm
Yep. He's been doing this for 12 years. I believe you told me also that Demand Local had been in business for 13 years.
Correct. Yeah.
And
Yeah, we've been around for going on 13 years. Born out of the automotive industry, played within that wall garden for years, and then over the last 5 years, heavily diversified, just because of what we were able to learn within automotive, and we've taken a lot of those. Learned lessons, expertise within really any type of ad tech. I mean, Demand Local, we are 100% an ad tech firm. We don't necessarily do a lot of the creative in house. We have partners that can help support us there. But if it's any kind of paid media, and obviously today we're going to be talking about geofencing, which we've also been in the geofencing space really from inception. And Demand Local was one of the first to come to market with what we'll call our trademarked product is called registered showroom visits. Obviously, it's kind of a little bit more of an automotive tone to it, but it was really one of the first industries uh, products that really tracked one-to-one reporting attribution of where we served a banner and then that device moving into a geofence and being able to track it one-to-one. So we were one of the first in market to do that. And we've played with all the different DSPs out there when it comes to geofencing. So we're technology agnostic. We go with the best DSP to meet our customers' needs. Definitely found an area and an opportunity within the CBD world to use this tool and technology in order to help create awareness about specific products potentially or the specific stores, and really, trying to create a cost structure that is going to get the visibility, drive the foot traffic. And quite frankly, you can go in, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can actually geoconquest competitor locations, or places where there is a captive audience. So call it gyms, call it physical therapy locations, any place where somebody that would be in market for a CBD product, we can put a geofence around there and gain customer access while showing creative, talking about the CBD products, the brand, the offerings, the incentives, everything along those lines. So that's kind of a quick plug.
well, thanks, Park. And you mentioned that you can actually use geoconquesting. I've gone through that a little bit in this group. So guys, that basically the thing that comes to mind, especially as it relates to CBD, is put them across those gas stations, the ones that carry the crap version of CBD and is really giving people a bad name. For one, the worst that could happen is that you're going to get it's shown to a high number of people. But Park can kind of tune in exactly who sees these
Mhm.
uh, uh, ads of yours. um he can tune it in to maybe Park, you can do it like to people who have bought something within the last, say, 3 months online.
Correct. So we have access to third-party data, and we're able to use that data as a demographic or behavioral layering within the geofence. So let's say you're going in geofencing a gas station, and so we can go in geofence the gas station and basically put in those filters that say in-market CBD consumer, in-market CBD purchaser. We can even do other things, that could create more of that target market, especially if the CBD stores know specifically what that user profile looks like. I just think of two off the top of my heads, which we can go grab, which are, like I said, in-market CBD, in-market CBD purchaser, and we can layer that into that gas station so that the devices that we capture that don't necessarily fit that profile, you won't have that impression bleed into the devices where it's not going to be a relevant serve for that banner ad.
Perfect. And I know that today we're dealing with primarily CBD, but I just want to touch on a question from another group that I got. Will this work for products and services, or is this something directly and just for products? If I've got a service area that's defined on my Google My Business page,
Hmm.
um, could it be one of the filters be put in like that?
So, uh, yes, it would just have to be specific to what that, again, it comes down to the user and who the target audience is. So if you've got a service-based business, we could look at let's say it's a HVAC or other type of company. We could do in market home construction, we could do in market home purchasing. We could even go geofence Home Depot for people that are going there if it's a service-based business, and that's where the target base is. I mean, what I want everybody to realize is geofencing is a very good strategy, and it is a great strategy outside of CBD because obviously there's restrictions within other platforms, which is why geofencing becomes such an attractive tool to use. But when you're thinking about really anything outside of the CBD world, you think about service, you think about products, you think about retail, legal, anything along those lines. We can go in and geofence a specific area. And also a great strategy and best practice is looking at making sure that we're marketing within different ecosystems. So today again we're talking about geofencing, but a successful strategy that we typically will deploy is looking at geofencing and social, or geofencing and search, because the more times that you're able to get your logo, call to action, incentive in front of a customer into a different ecosystem of how they consume media throughout the day, the higher percentages that you're going to influence that buying decision when they're ready to make a purchase. And so for a service-based company, those would be some great strategies we could definitely layer in, and it could be household income, it could be parents, it could be single, it could be renters, it could be a host of different things. The list of third-party data that's out there currently, it's vast. And so, I don't think we've run up against a campaign yet where we haven't been able to devise at least a target audience from a starting point. And then once the campaign launches, then we start to take a look at the filters, we look at the pacing, we look at the serves, at the impressions served, or the clicks, and then start to make some adjustments over time in order to best optimize the investment that's being made.
Yeah, specifically the areas that I was talking about was I got an inquiry from somebody that does air duct cleaning.
Mhm.
I got an inquiry from somebody who does landscaping. And I've got an inquiry from several people also that are commercial cleaners, and they would like to target, for instance, I believe that this can be done. Tell me if I'm wrong, but we could target an individual location, such as an office building or manufacturing facility, and we could get more to the management by putting in a filter of dwell time of say over 8 hours, and then you're specifically targeting the management because they're probably going to be there many 8, 10, 12 hour days.
Yeah, in those situations, so yes, everything you're talking about is definitely attainable, and it is a part of the technology. And so we would just have to talk through what are the primary KPIs versus the investment, because for anybody there for 8 hours, you're targeting really all employees. You could filter in some of the behavioral or demographic targeting. But again, you want to make sure that it's the right strategy and spending the right investment to get to that target audience.
Right, great. And I've got a Facebook user here that said that they would be interested in trying geofencing, but the costs are just way too much for me. Now,
Okay.
the cost for geofencing is an advertising cost, and therefore, I don't know. I look at costs a little different than a lot of people. I look at costs in reference to ROI.
Hmm.
And really, as a business owner, I've had to learn to do that. The first when I I just signed a contract for $1,200 for something, and it was basically, I looked at, okay, I'm going to spend this, but this is what I expect, or what I can expect out of it. Um, is that pretty much the mindset that people should have about advertising? This is, I can't say this enough. It took me 3 months to find Park, because every other company that I was talking to was saying, no, we can't help you. It's CBD. It's
Mhm.
there's too many restrictions on it. We don't understand it. We don't have the time to learn your business.
Yep.
All that stuff was actually, believe it or not, told to me by people that were supposed to be in charge of getting new customers.
Mhm.
So
Well, and so there's a couple things that go into it. One is, yes, it's the Wild West, quite frankly, from an advertising perspective. The one of the proven, you got print media, which you can obviously, advertise, CBD products within that. And then you've got, your digital media. And so, search, if you wanted to go through a pilot program or get approved by Google, there is an opportunity to do that. But that's very limited, very few. If you go into Google right now and type in CBD, you'll see some ads served, but that's because they went through a very stringent process with Google in order to get approved, because Google is currently kind of in a beta test to kind of understand the space a little bit more. Facebook, not going to happen unless it's, truly an educational article. And even there, you have to go up against their algorithms to say that it's valid or not. So, when you take a look at how do I reach consumers in a digital world, you've got companies like us who have been able to go out and procure the inventory in order to go and, create a platform to where we can get those banners served to a target audience with far fewer restrictions. There's, I think, three restrictions that we have to follow, which, for in the CBD world, typically we're able to, navigate the creative, get everything set up. So there is a little bit of a premium when it comes to, specifically CBD geofencing, just because of the time, the effort, the ability to go build our inventory, and then obviously place the media buys to get that served to the proper devices. When you look at traditional geofencing campaigns, they're probably not going to be as expensive as CBD because they're, free open market type of campaigns. So it's easier to, go onto the DSPs and make those buys at a cheaper rate. So, the one suggestion that I would have is, if you've got the capital to invest into geofencing, there's a couple different strategies that we can bring forth. When you look at, if you're a product-based CBD company and you've got product within specific stores and you want to bring highlight to that product, we can look at creating geofencing strategies there. If you've got a store and you know of 15 other CBD stores, within, I live in Northern California, so there's CBD stuff all over the place here. And so if I owned a CBD store here, great, I'm going to go geo-conquest 20 other locations across Northern California to bring awareness to my store and or my potential online platform to sell CBD products as well. And that's called geoconquesting, where we can put a fence around another location or a competing location to gain access to your competition's market share. And you can do that from a product-based perspective. You can do that from a brick and mortar store perspective. You can use it as a way to drive commerce to your e-platform. And or it's just pure awareness. Hey, we're opening up a new CBD store within, Walnut Creek, California. Here's the incentive. Be one of the first people within the first 2 weeks, get 20% off your first purchase. So, there's a handful of different strategies or things that we can think about, and we're open to having the conversation. But, at the end of the day, there is a premium to it. And until this becomes a little bit more commercially viable, that's where we say, hey, give us the opportunity to show you where and how we can make this work for you, to where you will see some degree of ROI. And really, the other component is it's the investment on the front end, but then it's the ability to work with us to figure out, when we launch a campaign at the very beginning, we're basically going in with the best intentions with regard to the layering data, the filtering data, the geofencing, the audiences that we're trying to reach. And so best practice really with any digital product is giving it a 3-month run. Because then that gives us the ability to adjust the geofences, adjust the audience. It gives us the opportunity too, if you've got a really good e-commerce platform, where you're driving traffic, we can place a pixel on that, learn who your customers are, and that's going to further enhance our ability to create audience lookalikes. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. It is something that we're very passionate about. We've seen success in the space, and you're right. There are going to be those individuals that say, "Hey, I can't. I'm investing all of my own money into this CBD venture and these storefronts and the product that I'm fronting the cost up front until I sell it." Completely understand a lot of those components, and that's just if there's ways that we could at least just have the conversation and learn a little bit more. I don't think it would hurt just starting a conversation.
And yes, Kevin, I'll follow up with you after this call. I've also got a quick question from. Let me just ask you a quick yes or no question. Are
Mhm.
there any contracts that are required? In other words, do I have to sign up for 6 months? Do I have to sign up for a year? Do I have to sign up till my grandmother is no longer with us, or how does that work?
We have to grow a sales team, so we expect your firstborn. I'm just kidding. Um, so no, the Demand Local, we're a month-to-month organization. So we normally flight our campaigns month to month. We do ask for certain industry standards. We're not going to lock you into it if we're not seeing the return or the investment utilized to how you expect it. You're free to cancel after a month. The only contract signed with us is the insertion order, which is basically just a called an invoice at the end of the day that outlines what we're providing, the volume we're providing, the product, the cost, and just your commitment to pay for media that's run. We bill on the back end. So once the media is run, we'll take a look at the impressions that we served. We'll bill you for the impressions. Sometimes we run over, but we won't bill you for over. But if we do run under the impression served, we will only bill you for media served. So it's a $2,000 campaign. We only call it 200,000 impressions. We only serve 180. We're only going to bill you $1,800. And that's really the only commitment that you have to make. There's some legalese on the IO. It's nothing that's out of the ordinary. But it's really kind of that easy. And with the creative, if it's already in-house and made, or you guys are able to deliver on it, or create it in-house, or maybe you have another agency that does the creative side of it for your digital overall footprint, we can launch these campaigns within call it 48 hours, depending on getting the IO signed and the creative. So I mean, we can turn and burn on this stuff pretty quickly from a launch perspective as well.
Cool. Now I've got another question coming in from Facebook. How do you track if a customer came from geofencing efforts? In other words, how does the customer know that, hey, this really came from you, rather than just because there are so many bots out there and
Mhm.
uh,
So basically,
places,
what'll happen? Yeah, no, I get you. So we've got. Let me see if there's a good slide here that describes it. So here, let's just use this slide. So if you look at the geo conquest, so you see this little circle around the store. Anytime any person walks into a geofence and lights up their phone and they've got some type of location tracking services on, which today 75-80% of phones still have it on in some capacity. As soon as that phone is lit up, boom, it's pinging the satellite. The satellite captures the device ID, and then the DSP that we're working with hashes the ID so we don't get access to personal information. And then basically now we're serving that device banners, with a certain degree of frequency over 30-day period. And once that device then walks into your store, again, lights itself up, then the satellite will say, hey, we served that ad over there to that person. Now they walked into this geofence. Great. We got a geo conquest. So we would take credit for serving the banner ad, influencing that person to come into your store because of the digital media we serve them. And that's how we track it. So it's not going to bots. It's not going to other things. It's one-to-one tracking attribution based off of the device ID that goes into the geofences.
Okay. And so do y'all serve up a list of the device IDs every month, or are they available upon request, just in case somebody,
We can't
wants to
share device
verify
IDs
all
because
this?
No, the device IDs are hashed by the DSPs, which means it comes across to us as a big long hash with like 2 numbers at the end. And to gain it, if we were able to gain access to that, you'd probably have a couple lawsuits on your hands, just because the companies capturing this have to do an incredibly good job at securing that user's data, because that's privacy information, and laws have been passed in order to protect it. So, if there are discrepancies within the tech, what we have, needing us to go in and verify every little thing that we do, I mean, depending on the opportunity, I can get our VP of programmatic. We can talk about it. But, we're not, we have brand protection built into our services. Like I said, we started in automotive. We represent, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 automotive brands. So we're serving most of our media on the top 200 media applications. So you're thinking about entertainment, you're thinking about news, you're thinking about outdoors, you're thinking about maternity. So all of these apps, from Fox News, Barstool Sports, CNN, those are the types of platforms, the big names of where those banners are going to be served. Once we capture that device ID, it meets the criteria, it crossed the geofence. Okay, that's an in-market person that we want to go target. We're going to serve them the creative.
And you can bring people's actual feet inside the door. Is that correct?
From an
Of a brick and
influencing
mortar
of,
store.
yeah, I mean, I'm not personally picking them up and pulling them in there. But what we are doing is we are serving a banner. So we are capturing the mobile device, running it through our filter. If it meets the geofence, the filter, we're now serving the banner ad. And once that person then crosses that into, either clicks into the e-commerce platform, because you've got to have a landing page if they click on the banner. So if they go there, or if they physically then walk into your customer store, then yeah, we would take credit in saying, okay, this is a device we captured, this is a device we served the banner ads to, and this is a device that then walked into your store. So that would be, in that case, if it's a competitor store, a GeoConquest. If it was just a geofencing campaign, let's say you wanted to go geofence a neighborhood with a target market audience, we would be able to report that, and we provide heat maps. So we'll be able to show you the places where these devices were first served that then ended up in your store.
So the actual store owner immediately cannot identify the customers that have come in. They're not wearing a T-shirt said "I came in through geofencing," but in the
No, I mean,
monthly
there's things that,
statement, when it's time for the monthly reconciliation, then you can produce the list and say, "Okay, we had these customers. We had 25 customers walk into your store on Tuesday."
Mhm,
Is that right?
absolutely, yep. And we provide reporting for all of this stuff. So, I mean, our dashboards are updated on a day-to-day basis. We can create a dashboard specific to, the CBD store owner or the e-commerce platform owner. That'll show them, it's updated daily on, what is the, impressions served, click-throughs, visits, all of those things. And we've been looking at different ways to get more. As a store owner, hey, how do I know that person came from a competitor? So there's sometimes that we may put in, mention this ad, and code ABCD and get 10% off. So a lot of it has to come down to, so because we don't have access to personal information, it's hard. We can't sit there and say, hey, Bob Smith walked into Joe's CBD store at Tuesday after leaving Kate's CBD store. We don't have access to that degree of information. Nobody does. And so, for us, that's where, the efficacy of just being honest and truthful, of saying, hey, great, here's where the person was served. They came into your geofence. So this is a walk-in attribution that we would take credit for. You could also put in phone numbers into the banner ads and track, people that are calling in through clicking the banner, click here to call the CBD store. We could put in codes. The thing is, we don't want that to be kind of the ultimate qualifier, because how many of us have gone, gotten a coupon on our phone, gotten excited about something, gone and purchased it, and then on the back end be like, oh, I forgot, I could have had 5% off because we were so giddy about getting in there and making a purchase. So, it's just, those are little things we can do to try to continue to drive awareness of, getting that, hardcore data of saying, great, this user actually bought something. But if you look at it, the whole premise around geofencing is driving foot traffic into your store. What they do once they're in that store, or what they do once they're on that site, really comes down to the engagement of the site, the content, or the engagement of the store. I was just in Denver and walked into a CBD store and was greeted by two different people, very knowledgeable, engaged me, upsold me, walked out of there with a couple different things. And so, part of this is also on the shoulders of the people that own the websites and own the stores, to where they're just, not sitting back saying, great, you drove 40 people in here, but my revenue went down. Well, maybe there's something else to look at there as well. We're not a silver bullet. We're here to help as an accompanying strategy, and one that we've been delivering on successfully for since geofencing became a commercially viable tool within digital marketing services.
Great. I know that I originally said we were going to get to the presentation. Now we've got about 4 minutes, it looks like.
Sure. So let me just go through a couple of things and hit some high level points here. So in this presentation, I'm going to share it with Rodney. He's going to upload it, so it's available. And so, this kind of gives an overview of, what we've been able to build from a CBD perspective. So it gives kind of market dynamics, different impressions, the different CBD visitors measured per day, just through our various campaigns. A little bit about, our approach when it comes to data and optimization, how we go about finding the customers, which we talked about when it comes to, consumer behaviors, third-party data layering. A little bit about our scale. I mean, we have the ability to go to scale. A little bit about compliance. We talked about that. So there are a couple rules when you talk about advertising in the space. We talk about our compliance, which is very critical. Media strategy. So we talk about in-store traffic, geo-conquesting, and then creating brand awareness. I mean, right now, half the battle is just getting people's brands out there, so that it becomes, synonymous, like Kleenex is now tissue and Xerox is, I might be dating myself a little bit, but, branding is a huge part of, some of the positive impacts of geofencing as well. We talked about location-based targeting, in-store attribution, which we've hit a couple different times. Kind of an overview, as we talk about, lookalike audiences. I mentioned that a little bit for, especially if we're able to place pixels on e-commerce platforms so that we can take advantage of understanding the traffic coming to those to help us model what those audiences are going to look like. And then a little bit about, kind of the ads, some of the creatives, some examples. We can do an order, you can do a map, you can do a buy now. Talks about some of what we've seen within, some of these strategies. Our reporting, I mean, we can give you some pretty detailed reporting with regard to the campaigns, what we're seeing, what are the positive impacts of it, or areas that we need to pay attention to. This is kind of some examples. Obviously, it's not CBD specific, but it's, a little bit. But it really just kind of highlights the different types of ad creative, how it would show up on the phone. Obviously, this is for ad, but it's more beauty products. So, you got this traditional banner, a little bit bigger banner, full page, and then you've got kind of a store locator if they click on that type of a creative. So that's kind of the presentation in a nutshell. Again, Rodney will have it. You're more than welcome to, engage with him to download it. I know Rodney will share my contact information. If there's anybody interested, feel free to go through Rodney. Come to me. I'll let Rodney know as well. And just hopefully help and start to stir some conversations to figure out ways to help create brand awareness, drive foot traffic, or e-commerce visits.
So basically, what it boils down to, folks, is if y'all are not getting enough retail or e-commerce clients, and I really don't think there is such a thing as a definition of enough, but unless you're getting enough clients to where you coming in through the door where they're paying all your bills, you're moving along at a great growth rate year over year. You're gonna want to call us. Demand Local does not only just geofencing. He's already mentioned several different things, including one we didn't get to called retargeting. But there are a number of things that Parks Company can do for you. And that's one of the reasons that I think that a conversation should at least be had about how Demand Local can specifically help your business. Um, any closing words, Park?
No, just thank you for the opportunity. And again, we are here to talk, strategize, support, and get the word out, drive foot traffic, build revenue. So please engage, follow up. Rodney can share my phone number and email. Open to calls and emails to talk through any of these things. And just thank you for the opportunity, Rodney. Really appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you, Park. Anything that can be done to help the CBD store owners, that's what this group is about. If people have questions, they can either post them or they can directly DM me. And just like with Kevin, I will get back to you and we will answer your questions. We'll set up a time so that we can talk about specifically your business and with Park and let him tell you what can be done for you. That's all we're asking is a chance, folks. All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who's watched this video, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.